Hi, everyone, and welcome to match 3, game 5. And basically, with white making a little comeback, but still a ways to go, right? Black is 2 away, and white is 5 away. So, yeah, white needs to be more aggressive to try to get back into the match. Look for a cube, if possible, right? Fairly early. And black being 2 away, can take unless it's looking really gammonish. As you'll see, the score here is quite relevant because black can take a little more because white is on an even score. And so, especially if it's not too gammonish, because the difference between a score of 5-3 and 5-4 is not very big. So if black takes a cube and loses 2 points, white goes to 5-4, and there's not a huge difference between 5-4 and 5-3. Okay, and it's good for black to take a cube and maybe just finish the match, right? So that's something to keep in mind in terms of scores when you're ahead, your opponent's on an even score, right? You can take a little more than usual. Okay, so this game isn't particularly long, a few interesting decisions, but yeah, enjoy. Here we go, game 5, and black is 2 away, white is 5 away. So white gets the opening roll, 5-1, and he plays aggressively, okay, and slots his 5 point. White wants a complicated game, and this is one of the ways to do that in order to catch up. And it pays off because he doesn't get blitzed after the 5-5. But black does have the racing lead. So this is interesting. White correctly plays the 1 first to make the 5 point. It's very valuable. And now has to decide which 6 to play. And XG says play to the bar point, not to your opponent's bar point. And again, this is part of, I suppose, the score-based decision in part. More aggressive, trying to get a game where you are priming your opponent as opposed to trying to escape your own checkers when you're behind in the score. So that makes sense. And here's a mistake. It seems like a natural move, doesn't it? Hit 2. In most normal scores, this is the right play. But in this case, black just wants to run. There's no need to go for a complicated or volatile position where white might be able to send the cube. And, black can use a spare on the 13 point. So yeah, I think it's mostly just this idea of, black doesn't really want to play with volatility necessarily. No, it's true that he can benefit from a gammon if he can win a uncubed gammon. But yeah, keep in mind that his position will be kind of loose after this, and not necessarily ideal if things go wrong. Excuse me. So just running is best here by a large margin. Okay, white enters with 1 checker. And black correctly covers the blot and hits again and puts 2 up on the bar again. And white enters with 1, but the wrong one, not hitting. And black is able to cover. So yeah, things are looking good. Of course, one of the issues is that black still hasn't moved these back checkers, right? So if white is able to anchor at some point, then things could be difficult for black in trying to get those checkers going, especially now since it looks like black's kind of given up on the outfield, right? He's broken the midpoint, and it's not clear if he's going to be able to hold it. And so that gives white some control over the outfield. Okay, white can't move. Things are looking a bit dire, but luckily black doesn't have a pointing move, a roll. And again, this seems like the natural play. And I talked about this, I think, last match, right? When you are at scores that are not more or less even, you've got to play a little more slowly and be careful about making automatic moves. Because, you know, different thinking goes into different scores. And at this score, yeah, you need to move those back checkers, okay? I know it seems kind of counterintuitive. You're leaving a blot on your midpoint here. And, you know, there's other kinds of hitting, right? But black really needs to get those back checkers moving. And the best time to get those back checkers moving is when your opponent's on the bar. There is somewhat less risk, right? So, yeah, be careful about automatic moves like this. Okay, white enters and goes into the outfield. So yes, white is still at a disadvantage, especially since he's subject to attack in black's home board. But on the other hand, he does have control over the outfield, and black's back checkers have a long way to go. Okay, 3-1. Yeah, this is a bit, it's okay, but I was thinking hitting actually might be the best play in this position, but XG does prefer moving back to the two back checkers at the same time. Not exactly sure why this is so much superior. But yeah, my preference would have been to hit. It seems to be thematic for this position. Of course, if you're hit back, you're not happy, but it is possible that white will dance and you'll be able to cover. And you know, it going against a 5-point board for white, not as much fun, is it? Okay, white sees that he's you know, got a double hit. The key here, of course, is that white doesn't want black to attack with his full roll in his home board. And so this is the best play to take away that, even though, of course, if black hits, white does have to enter on a 4-point board, but sorry, black hits back, right? White has to enter. And it might be difficult, but he might anchor as well. But yeah, the key aspect of this play is just to prevent black from attacking. And, you know, good things can happen when black is on the bar. And ta-da, good things do happen. Double sixes, good timing. Keep in mind again, right, that if white had not hit for some reason, then double sixes would be a pretty strong roll. Putting white on the bar with the 5-point board. But still, white has a long way to go for this position. He's able to cover the 1 point, which is a good start. And black dances again. Now, white has to think about the cube, right? Previously, it was just too much work yet, and he had, you know, hit only a 2-point board, no guarantee he was going to cover the blot. But now with black, with 2 up, and of course, white is behind in the score, he's definitely got to think a cube here. And so he throws over the cube, and it is indeed a double. and black passes, which is actually a huge mistake. And this might seem really surprising, right? Black has 2 checkers on the bar. He's possibly afraid of a gammon. But there's a couple factors that really dictate black to go for the take here. Okay, first, look at the race. Black, even though he's got two on the bar, he's still far ahead in the race, which is pretty amazing. Second, white's home board. The structure isn't great, is it? In terms of trying to execute a further blitz. Of course, he's going to be able to maybe bring some more checkers down to attack with, but there's a good chance that black is going to be able to enter with at least 1, and then he'll maybe be able to anchor. And, the other factor is, this is not a bad blocking position for black, right? And white still has to get this checker out. There's no guarantee. He's got to get a 2 and then jump. And in the meantime, black might have some time to consolidate a comeback here. And one can't discount doubles, I suppose, on the part of black. So on the whole, white has a lot of work to do to bring this home. And if we count, let's see, how many in the zone? Well, we've got 5, 7, 9. So that's not a lot of attackers. Okay, and that's one way also to think about, whether you're going to take a double or not is what they call how many checkers does your opponent have in this kind of attacking zone. 9 is okay, but it's not a lot. And especially with one of the points being the 1 point, it's not ideal, is it? So all in all, this is a huge take and a massive blunder for black to turn down. And another thing to pay attention to, which again might seem surprising, right, is look at the gammon rates. For white, he's got around 19%. Black actually has close to the same, almost 18%. Okay, so yeah, it's kind of interesting, right? Of course, once white throws over the cube, black's gammons don't count for anything. But it is interesting that in this particular position, the white doesn't actually have much more chance of gammoning black than black does. So, anyways, that's a kind of a short game. The other thing to think about that I didn't mention is that giving up 1 point in this position for black, right, takes the score to 5-3, 2 away, 4 away, which is actually kind of an ideal score for white. That's a good score for him to really look at throwing a cube across fairly early and going for the gammon for the match. Whereas black can afford to take the cube, and then, if he loses 2 points, it's not much worse than going to 5-3, going to 5-4. Okay, so that's another kind of reason why this is such a big mistake, is that when your opponent's at an even score, you tend to take the cube a little more because there's not a huge difference in terms of, if your opponent wins 2 points, he's at an even score anyways. Okay, whereas now black has just given up the ghost, and white gets that key point to take him to 4 away. Okay, and when your opponent is 2 away, 4 away, it's not such, I mean, obviously you're an underdog, but it's not such a bad score because of the possibility of winning a doubled gammon and the match perfectly, right? Okay, so that's think about the scores as well. If your opponent's at even score, then you have you're more likely to take a cube. Okay, especially as you can see that the gammon chances are not huge, right? Okay, so Next game, we're going to have a two-way, four-way game, which is quite instructive. So hope to see you then. Thanks very much.